In the finale of Star Wars Rebels, Thrawn and Ezra disappeared into hyperspace, having been shot off into oblivion by the way of the Purrgil. For many years, we had all assumed that they had been shot into the unknown regions, which is the largely unexplored second half of the main galaxy that we know. However, in Ahsoka, it has now been revealed to us that they in fact had not been shot into the unknown regions, but rather an entirely separate galaxy altogether. This actually makes a lot of sense, since Thrawn actually grew up in the unknown regions and would have been able to make his way back quite simply. In Legends, Thrawn made his grand return in the main galaxy from the unknown regions of space and not a new galaxy. And there, he proceeded to become the largest threat to the New Republic, the greatest threat since Sidious and Vader themselves, with some deeming Thrawn even superior to the might of Palpatine's empire. But what Thrawn was actually up to in the unknown regions in Legends is far more terrifying than many ever thought, which was establishing a brand new empire of his own. Thrawn's empire was actually better than the original, so much better in fact that the Jedi turned a blind eye to it and allowed it to continue to exist. So exactly how was this possible? Why were the Jedi allowing Thrawn to grow in power in the unknown regions? And could this have major consequences in Star Wars canon, giving us a greater idea of the empire of Grand Admiral Thrawn? And now as we open the holocron, we introduce you to the Empire of the Hand, and discuss how it was basically a perfected empire. This is especially important considering what's being set up in the Ahsoka series and Thrawn's grand return. Star Wars canon has recently been setting up a track record on borrowing largely from Legends, which means Legends content is still very much a viable source and we can use it as a rubric as of now. At the moment, it is still unclear whether the Imperial remnants that Thrawn is bringing together will result in the First Order or the Empire of the Hand. But what we can see is that Thrawn is intending to bring the Empire back, at least in some shape or form. By using the Imperial intelligence laced all throughout the New Republic, Thrawn is able to analyze the defenses of his enemies and use their resources against them while he builds up his own empire to challenge and overtake the galaxy. So while Thrawn is building his new empire, we can get a vision of what that looks like by analyzing the Empire of the Hand in Legends. This all started out as a simple mapping expedition from the unknown regions organized directly by Palpatine. To Palpatine, too long had the mysterious unknown regions lied unexplored and looming dangerously off in the distance. Palpatine wanted to have a clear understanding of what was out there, what sort of threats and powers that it offered. The Emperor would send Thrawn as well as his fleet into unknown space so that he could actually create maps of star charts for Palpatine to later follow. Thrawn also, though, had an order to make connections with the populace and various planets that lied in unknown wild space, trying to gain favor with them so when he explored, he would have safe passage, with the grand plan being to eventually induct them into the Empire as well. But of course, like most things in the Empire, the whole mapping effort thing was mostly a facade. In reality, Thrawn was on a secret mission to create a bulwark against the Yuuzhan Vong, something that Sidious apparently kept an eye on. Thrawn was given full leeway to set up this shadow empire in any way that suited the efforts in the unknown regions. Essentially, Thrawn was the Emperor of wild space. Thus, Thrawn created what is known as the Empire of the Hand, which in actuality was a simple network of planets and systems that formed a sort of wall in the unknown regions. This would serve as the front line of defense and watchman against the Yuuzhan Vong. But protection against the Vong was only part of what the Empire of the Hand was capable of. The Empire of the Hand also served as a unit of protection from all threats to the innocents of the unknown regions. It was a valiant cause. Like we said, the Hand was basically if the Empire was done correctly, as Thrawn had full control over it and thus created it in his own image of how he thought the Empire should be run. Rather than seek to conquer planets and systems through brute force and fear, he worked to form alliances with the native governments within unknown space, and allowed them to self-govern under the protection that the Hand offered. In exchange, these planets would allow the Hand to set up bases and fortifications of their turf so that they could expand the range and influence of Thrawn's new empire. With this in place, fringe groups of marauders, raiders, and pirates that normally threatened these worlds of the unknown space were put in their places, as the Hand now had staked its claim in a significant portion of space. But even so, Thrawn would implement many new rules into his empire that changed it from the original version that Sidious created. Thrawn made sure the Hand treated enemies with respect, gathered much intelligence before engaging any threat, and emphasized tactical reasoning, prioritizing the safety of their soldiers, the latter being something that the regular Empire never did, and was one of Thrawn's major critiques of Vader and Sidious. Thrawn created great loyalty among the Empire of the Hand. They respected, and some of them loved the Grand Admiral. To Thrawn, the people serving under him weren't just faceless helmets. They were hardworking individuals laying down their life on the line to make the galaxy a better place. Thrawn would implement Chiss ideology of his homeland into the way of the Hand. Eventually, this culminated in a strong alliance between the Chiss Ascendancy and the Empire of the Hand, Thrawn's people welcoming him back yet again. But there was still more to correct in the Empire that Thrawn saw. The Empire of the Hand allowed non-human species within their ranks, and didn't rule by fear. Thrawn completely did away with the Tarkin doctrine, and corrected the major wrong that Sidious had on the alien species of the galaxy. The Emperor Palpatine had mistreated and cast aside all species that were not human, species that then turned to the rebellion for aid. But for Thrawn's empire, this was no longer an issue. Based off of all these changes, the unknown regions welcomed their new overlords in a new era of prosperity and peace. This made the Empire of the Hand far stronger, as these systems were far more willing to give more in order to serve Thrawn. In the end, this completely cut out all the corruption, evil, and megalomania that existed in Sidious's and Vader's empire. This is also why Thrawn never had a need for superweapons. Not only was he himself too tactically intelligent to need them, but he also saw them as major weaknesses, since they were just large, expensive targets for the enemy. The only major conflict that would arise within the Empire of the Hand was their wars with the C-Ru-V. Eventually though, Thrawn would conquer this threat. However, when he returned to the main galaxy, he was met with a terrifying realization. Palpatine's empire had completely collapsed. The Jedi had returned, and not only was Palpatine dead, but Vader as well. Thrawn had returned to known space to reveal to Palpatine all that he had learned, and reveal just how powerful the Hand had become. And it was here that he learned of the Battle of Endor, that the fact that the Empire as he knew it was completely in shambles. The new rulers of the galaxy was the same rebellion thought to have no chance, and they established a brand new republic. Disgusted and angered by this, Thrawn launched his most devastating and successful campaign yet, his claim to fame in Legends continuity. In fact, Thrawn had even backed the New Republic so far that he was able to lay siege to Coruscant itself, before he was eventually betrayed and killed by one of his own men. Nonetheless though, it was not the might of the New Republic that conquered Thrawn. Thrawn was on the eve of utter victory. Following Thrawn's death, Luke and the Jedi investigated Thrawn's Imperial remnants to be sure that they knew how much of the Empire still remained, thus leading them directly into the Empire of the Hand. But here, something shocking happened. The Jedi realized how different Thrawn's empire was from the original one, and how much it had actually helped the unknown regions. Though there was a secret cloning program where Thrawn was attempting to be reborn through a clone of himself, Luke made sure that the Hand destroyed the clone, and in return, he kept their existence a secret from the New Republic, creating a treaty between the Jedi and the Empire of the Hand. With this agreement in place, the Hand was allowed to continue thriving even after Thrawn's death, as they obeyed the statutes that were put in place. The Hand would eventually resurface to aid the New Republic and the galaxy, helping them during the war with the Yuuzhan Vong. Following this, the Empire of the Hand would mysteriously vanish, having completed the purpose for which it was created. Though records indicate that the Hand continued to exist in secrecy far after the destruction of the Vong. In conclusion, the Empire of the Hand was everything the Galactic Empire wasn't and should have been. This also means though, that if Thrawn had conquered the New Republic, his empire would have spanned the entire galaxy, the unknown regions included, making it superior to Sidious's empire. And in truth, it wouldn't have been all that bad for the average galactic citizen. It's almost ironic that Thrawn's success would have actually been the preferable outcome, if we're taking the view of the galaxy at large. But that will bring up an interesting equation if this is the rubric that canon follows for Thrawn's resurgent empire. In canon, it is clear that the New Republic is incompetent. Thrawn himself would even point out that the New Republic was inept because they had been born from a rebellion. All they knew how to do was to rebel against the established institution, and they now would have to learn what actually running that institution was like, realizing it was completely different. In fact, throughout all of this campaign, Thrawn refused to dignify the New Republic by calling them that, and instead referred to them as the Rebellion. Adding on to this, Thrawn didn't even allow anyone serving under him to call them the New Republic either, as if they did, Thrawn would show them an uncharacteristic amount of anger and frustration. I will be personally extremely interested to see what happens when they feature Thrawn, and exactly if this counters this rubric from Legends. Excited to see if in Thrawn's mind if the rebellion actually won, or if this is simply the next stage of the war. Interesting to see if this version of Thrawn actually poses a better version of the Empire, a fact that Thrawn might exploit and use against the New Republic. But anyway, my friends, this is the shadow of the Empire that was established by Thrawn in Legends, and how it was actually so ideal that even Jedi Grandmaster Luke Skywalker allowed it to live in secret. We definitely want to hear your thoughts and opinions on this, and if you think canon will follow this framework. As always, my friends and acolytes, thank you for visiting our archives, and may the Force be with you.